I think it's gonna run the same as what
There we
the
go.
townships would operate it, and just coordinating all of it.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. We're good to go.
So I think we just start from the top. Since we're good.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to call the meeting to order. All those in favor?
Aye. Make the motion that we adopt the minutes. Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye. Oh, I have one. The little pulley system, click on it.
Yeah. Okay, the next order of business is public hearing on the 2026 budget.
Linda, you guys just have to open it, right? You have to make a motion to open the public hearing officially.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to open on budget for 2026. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None?
Do we wait 5 minutes?
To see if anybody speaks.
Oh,
Looks pretty quiet out there.
Typically, we'll wait for 5 minutes. It's up to your guys' judgment if you want it. But we just have to you have to officially close it at a certain point, but 5 is usually the most.
That's reasonable and fair, I think. Or does somebody got an extra pen or pencil? Mine was,
Unless I have another.
mine was right here on my phone case.
And it's disappeared.
And it's disappeared. Oh, here we go. Perfect. Thank you, Drew. I appreciate it.
Yeah, pretty close. God.
It's good windy out there.
Well, trees are moving, and Kirby's just getting a little old. Even though it's probably 12 years old at best.
Make a motion to close the public meeting. I second
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Public meeting is closed.
it. Okay, go for it, Drew.
All right. Honestly, we tried to get you guys this, the Form 1 last week, so that is the, I don't know if you guys just covered it or not, but it's the one with a bunch of appropriations on it that basically is our line items by funds for 2026. My thought is always to work, we can always advertise high and walk our way back lower. Some things in here I know you're gonna have questions about, but I'll kind of go through it on my side. Starting with the rainy day fund, it kind of ties into our CIP. We can either designate it on a budget, designate it in a CIP. If we do that, it'll keep it from going to the roads fund. Not to say that we, in our CIP, I think we have a little bit of money out of the general fund that would go to the roads fund. When that transfer happens, and I haven't really said when we have to do that, it's still gonna be internal. So like, when we get to the CIP, I'll explain things there. But the thought for the buffer was to put some projects that we want to get done for 26, even though it's listed on the CIP. This is us committing that portion. Now, everything on the CIP is not committed in dollars, it's just a plan. For the first thing on there, I'm trying to see where it says community initiatives, that was to deal with there was a mention of maybe looking at a Kokomo restoration plan. I don't know what the dollar amount was. They came back another time. I think it was like 250, 300,000 over 3 years. My thought was, since we have this, we're going to have to either designate it for a capital improvement plan, or we could put it in the budget to get. I had 100,000 here, but what I was thinking was 75,000 to get the mission and city townships. For those two for this year and next year would be it's more of that. That's where I could stand to get behind that. My recommendation, I couldn't go into 200,000 over 4 years. That may not be here. You know, we have an election, so I can't say anything. I said, but I think Center Township giving them 25 this year, which I did. I got the check, came in, and got it. For 2025 and 75,000 towards the Michigan Gateway Center, and that was my thoughts on that. So I already marked that on my own to go from 100 on that to 75,000. Which it says special KR. So some of the items are from previous years, so we kept them in there so you can see that we had 25,000 there. I know that's guys, it's what you guys want to do. I don't think they have to do it, but I think it would be a good initiative if we're going to partner with it, just to say we gave $100,000 towards these programs, this where you're going to offer more than just a stay or the shelter. So I think it's right. We what they needs. Would it be not a bad idea to use some of this money to go back in the community the way that we can control, more than you control, not even myself. That was my thought on the 100,000, but I want to mark it down to 75,000 to go towards the missions engagement center. Then the thing there at the bottom that was, I think it's listed at 300,000. That is just a rough number. We don't have all these projects lined up. I know there's the rule, if you appropriate it, I can spend it. I want to obviously do things the right way. There are projects that I think are priorities, and there's things that are list things on our CIP. And when we get to talking about that, I can say, this would be nice. Doesn't mean it's going to get done. It would be nice to happen. May not. Things that we had for next year was, you know, the accessibility path, the walking path from the up at the top of the hill down to the park so that people could get down there. Another thing we were looking at was trying to get the sidewalk repaired. We got to get somebody that can do that long stretch of sidewalk, because it's not like a residential where it's just in front of your house. It's probably almost 100 yards of sidewalk plus some grading because the ground is eroding out from underneath it. So we're trying to see, you know, Anthony's asked the city about the match program to try to get a quote on that, or just a contractor that could, you know, say, hey, this is how much it would cost. So we would have a rough idea. That's two things I like there. And then the third thing at the park would be the basketball court. We went out there to take pictures just to see. The court is cracked up. We've tried to seal it multiple times now. The backboards are falling down and cracked. It would be nice to be able to put that in a project so that this money was, rather than it going, not that it's going to go to the roads right away, but to be subject to it, to put it towards repairing that basketball court. There's probably a gash that goes probably 20 feet wide. That's about 3 inches deep. As far as the safety thing, I'm not sure if somebody ever goes right there and trips and claims that they got hurt on the basketball court. It is a liability. We could shop out quotes for that. We got one as easy as stripping it and re-asphalting it, which we had Jansen's do last summer, which basically you're just coating it and putting in tar in the cracks. It might be a solution, or we could have them busted up. The basketball courts, I'm guessing, are original to the park, are put in funky. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They got like little concrete pads that's sitting there. So just like we've always talked about replacing the basketball goals, where they're like custom, whatever time the city of Kokomo started building those basketball goals, wood ones with posts that only fit those wooden basketball goals. And we were looking at doing that several times because we have a couple of but backboards from over here, because we own the parking lot has 2 basketball goals over here. And I was like, well, we could put those up, but they're not fitted for those type of poles. So those are the 3 things that I've seen at the park. The building, our gutter has to get replaced. It fell off completely in the spring. Our maintenance guy got it where he got it back up, but we need to get somebody back out here because it's starting to tear down on the building. He didn't say exactly what was happening, but basically the gutter was ripping the part of the roof off. So one of those projects that we put some Band-Aids on, I don't think it's going to be $100,000 project for the building, but it will be a couple $1,000s there. And then another issue we have is that parking lot. If you go out there on the west side of the parking lot, there's I don't know, I'm not going to call it a sinkhole, but a big divot in the parking lot where it dips down probably a whole space. And just to get a quote on that, to see about filling it in and leveling it out, just in case somebody would go there and claim the car got tore up in the parking lot. Those were the things that, now that we had this CIP, we started looking at, okay, what things are nice to have, what things do we need to get fixed? I think, 300,000, we can walk back off of that, but eventually with this roads fund transfer, we're going to start basically taking the money out of the rainy day fund, and we're not going to have this anymore. I'm kind of glad, but kind of sad that I don't have the war chest that Gene had built, because then I wouldn't know what we could. I don't have $7 million worth of things that want to spend money on, but I do think there's some things with the park, with our building here, and then with the CIP long term that doesn't have to be in the budget now, to, I don't know what the teeth is gonna be after this initial year. Are they gonna come back and say, if you don't execute it, then that money's gonna be released to the 30%? That's gonna be probably the question that comes out of the next legislative session, because I know the person that wrote it isn't happy about the CIP. The CIP is very confusing for a lot of trustees out there, trying to figure it out on the fly while they're trying to figure out their budgets. I was like, well, let me see what it is and what we can do. And it's just kind of where we're at with it. It's not that I want to spend the money by any means. I'd rather save it and keep it for a rainy day like it was intended. But now we're sitting here facing a situation where it's like, well, you can't hold it either. You can hold it, but it needs to be reserved for roads, which not really what we're in the business of doing, but it's the business that this bill put us in. So I haven't even thought about how that's going to go with the city or county, or them having MOUs with us, because basically the projects would come to the board. You guys would look over whatever road project they gave you and said yes or no, and then we would write them a check. From the way I read the DLGF notices, it doesn't seem like that money would have to actually go out the door till 2027. They haven't really said it. People have asked questions. Nobody knows the answers. State board accounts, DLGF, legislators, nobody knows when is that actual transfer of funds going to happen. Even internally, nobody really knows that. So those are my thoughts on the rainy day. Obviously, I want to hear your guys, as this meeting is to kind of hash out what we want to see, so we come back with a finalized version. Not that we have to have everything wrapped up today, but just to have a better idea of what you guys want to see. That way I can put it in budget. The general fund, not a lot of change here. The contracts are the thing that I'm working. It's sitting there at 265, but I'm moving that down to 230. I have a list here for you guys. And next meeting, when we adopt it, last year I started doing the resolution allowing you guys approving that I do these contracts for 2020, whatever. And these are kind of my thoughts. They always come in higher than where I'd like to be, but I did give them a fair warning that because of some of the stuff coming from the legislation, that we're going to have to start reducing some of these contracts. So there's a question mark I'm waiting on to see if that person actually turned in their request, because sometimes they bring them in person, sometimes they email them, and I was trying to get a hold of the director because they changed it over recently here. So my thought is to try to start walking them backwards from where they used to be. I've already walked them back once, but I already gave them a fair warning again. Hey, this money is not always guaranteed. This is kind of my buffer where it's like, hey, it's great that we're doing this. But if we have to go between this and our services that we provide in our office, we're going to go with the service we provide in our office. So trying to find an easy medium, give them, good time. I'll talk to all the executive directors and say, hey, this is why your request was for 20, we gave you 10. I have all the requests that they send in. We keep them on file. Some of them are very detailed, like Harbor Center is very detailed about the programs they do. Bonavista is very detailed. Some of them are just generalized, like Kokomo Powell there's basically says we need help with equipment for the 2026 year, which is, yeah, I get it. They're not going to have too much detail at a youth sports level. So I can send those to you guys if you'd like them to read through them. I try to just hold them accountable and make them send them in by July 31st. That way, when we come to this, I can have an idea of what I'm going to request and let you guys know from there.
So there's just a handful that hasn't responded.
Just the project access is not going to respond. Cam, we're either looking to see if they did send it to us, because I don't know the new executive director very well, so I'm trying to see did he not know how the process went? Because last year Janine Smith, who was the director, was stepping down, and she sent it to me for the incoming director. So there might be some confusion on his part, but I'm just assuming where it would be at and where I could see it fitting. So I kind of just put it in there as a not placeholder, but like as just in case.
But these are the amounts 2026 requested that they asked.
They asked for, yeah, and then the one on the far right is what I think would be the best fit for the budget at a reduced level. And then the ones on the bottom are the park and rec contracts, so those are your youth sports organizations, Kokomo Park Band, a couple youth, summer programs with AKAs, the DYW is a scholarship program that, no.
Do you think that these people, the whole page, do you think they understand it's gonna be zero in a couple of years?
I don't know if they understand that when I say there's legislative changes, but I've tried to express to them that this money is not guaranteed, and that it's just a reflection that we were in a good place. They were very high for a long time, so I've been trying to walk them back, because I understand that thinking you got $50,000 every year from one group and they say you ain't got nothing would be crisis mode at a nonprofit level. But trying to find the balance of where we're at currently and where it would be in the future.
Because to me, I almost think cutting in half what we gave this year would maybe get their attention and make them understand they are either going to have to fundraise or figure out different ways, because when the county absorbs this, it's going to be zero. They're not going to get these.
Yeah,
funds from the
but I'm gonna
county.
fight to make sure the county doesn't absorb us. I know that might be the truth, but that's not where I think townships have a place to serve this community the way it does, just as well or better than the county can do it right now. You can have that opinion, and it could happen, but I will try to fight for Center Township to stay alive.
Yeah, so you don't think it's going to happen?
I can't say what the legislature is going to come up with. I would hope not. I think you're going to take services and repurpose them to one central location. That doesn't work out for, I mean, yes, the people downtown Kokomo would benefit because there would still be a presence here, but if you're in the outlying even Taylor Township people would be burdened to have to come downtown to get assistance. I can't guarantee that it wouldn't. I would hope it doesn't. I do think there's obviously some consolidation that would make sense for townships. But then I look at it, I'm like, I just gotta make sure Center Township's okay. When I have 400 to 500 people walk in our office in the month of July, and what's that gonna look like if it turns in, not to say that county can't handle it, but does it look different? What does that look like for people that need the help?
See, I almost think they're gonna keep like Center Township office, but it won't be Center Township.
Yeah.
It'll be township services, period. And then you've gotta think about the places around the state that really don't have a big city in their county, so probably there's gonna be some office that's retained in every county.
You'd have to,
Exactly, because
But-
you still got, like you said, 400 or 500 people coming in or more.
Yeah,
There's
more
gonna
would-
have to be in place.
yeah,
They would be overwhelmed.
Yeah, the
With just
county
the
is not
traffic.
for that.
yeah. And I mean, yeah, it could happen, but at the same time, I gotta be able to operate like, hey, like what can we do the best for next year? Like even looking at the budgets and all the stuff that are reducing with property taxes, I gotta say, well, we'll be good for 27 and we're probably good for 28, past 29 or 30. I don't know. What are they gonna change? Like this whole structure is gonna be thrown out the window here soon, supposedly with property taxes.
So I think what's gonna happen is you're gonna be back to providing those services, but not all this.
No, yeah, and I think they know, like I tell them, you can apply for how much you think you need. That way, if there was ever a situation where it seemed necessary to meet your requirement, if we had the ability, we could fill it. But I said,
Yeah.
this isn't guaranteed money. I said, this isn't our statutory requirements as a township to contract. Now, the services help our clients, but they aren't necessary for us to keep doing it. So if we get to a point where the budget starts looking like, hey, we got to get rid of things. Yeah, these are my places where I'm like, okay, I got a buffer of $200,000 to $300,000 that we can reduce to make sure that we're still doing what we need to do. So I think most of them are fine with it. I think they would ask more, even though they know they're not going to get more. Some of them are thankful just to get something,
They'll ask why.
Yeah.
I expect this.
There's some of them that'll ask the same 50,000, and I haven't given them 50,000 since I've been trustee yet. And there's ones where I'm like, yeah, I get our partnership, but I'm trying to soften the blow as we go along. Like, hey, you got another reduction. It's not a knock on your agency or anything. It's just things are going to get tighter for me and my budget. So I've got to make sure that if you want to get something from us in the meantime, that we can make it reasonable for us and, still something for you guys. And I think most of them are happy. I think they all struggle with money. It's the nonprofit world. They're all fighting for the same dollars from United Way and the state funding and township, the CBD, G block grant from the city. The county does give out some money, just selective on what it is, if it meets their initiative. That everybody's going for all these monies, and as soon as they start coming back, like the first year I made the announcement, don't ask more than 50,000. I got treated like I was the United Way, and I thought they were all going to hate me, which some of them probably did. Some of them were talking about me, like, why is he doing this? It's like, because I got to protect the money that I do have, try to make sure that if this is a thing that we're going to continue to do, that we can continue to do it down the road. And I think with this, I sit down with each one of them and let them know, like, hey, like, this is why it's cut, and this is what's going to happen. That's not a hard conversation for me to say to them. Is like, this may not be here anymore. And some of them will get in. Some of them will look at me like, I don't understand why it won't be there. But they think the same thing with United Way. Like, they think that because it's been that way, it's always going to be that way.
The simple answer is that is not why township government was created in
I
the first
understand.
place.
Yeah.
So it's only because Gene wanted to be Mr. Good Guy that he starts handing out. I mean, if you take this all the way back
Yeah.
30, 35 years, they weren't getting any money from township government.
No,
Until
but-
he started.
I mean, the contracts are ways for people to, like in Peru, and it's not the right way, but they contract with the nonprofit for housing.
Yes, right.
And I told them that technically it's not legal because anybody's allowed to request rental assistance from the trustees. And I said, you can contract with them. It might help, soften the burden of your budget, because I think that was Gene's approach too. Like, Project Access was huge for us because we didn't do a lot of medical claims. And I've not seen a medical claim since I've worked here, because we would refer to Project Access and they would help with the doctor's visits and the co-pays. And now that that's gone, now I haven't seen anybody walk in for that particular
But
claim.
that was all about helping the person that came in the door.
Yeah.
Some of this other stuff has nothing to do with
Yeah.
that. That's what I'm talking about. That all got started, and then as long as you're handing out money, they're gonna assume
But I think
you're gonna do it.
I think some of these are all, I mean, they're all, to me, I'm going to focus them around what's going to make the better rent quality of our not only our clients, but of people in our community. So
Yeah, well, that's true too, but that's not the mission under the statute.
So on that 265, I was going to drop to 230. And the poor relief, not a lot of change there. We
did add IT services in the line.
Yeah, we have IT services in there. And that's one I can, we do need IT help for cybersecurity and hardware and stuff like that. We've always used Mike Horton. He's probably either at or past the point of where he wants to retire. I think he just has clients that he's helping now. But there's a lot of things that we get, whether it's somebody opened the wrong email, people trying to get, just like the county got hijacked a couple of years ago, or ransomware, that we need to have somebody. We've kind of gotten lucky. I don't know if our luck would ever run dry. It's kind of one of those dice games you can play and say, don't have any help with cybersecurity or IT, problem happens, they ransomware your stuff. I think we needed it, for a while. Mike is not any means by anywhere like an IT person where he's going to constantly come in here and do stuff. He's usually got a problem, we call him, he provides all our computers. he'll fix some issues if we have some stuff that happens on the computer systems. This packet that we got from this local IT company is more of an on hands. It's got a customer support thing that if we wanted to run a ticket, say, hey, somebody's had a suspicious email, they'll investigate it, let us know, fix the problem. I go back and forth whether or not I want to commit to having a contract with an IT company, but it just seems like everything with the state, seems like they're pushing for people to have cybersecurity assessments, like you're supposed to have one every 2 years after 2026, where it's like, well, how much does that cost? And I looked at one and it was $35,000. And I looked at, and Anthony got another quote from a local company that helps a lot of nonprofits that was
9.3. So
9,000.
Yeah, per year.
So I was like, maybe we do that with them since it's a lot cheaper than the 30,000 because I'm not sure how that's almost somebody's salary. I was like, well, how do you afford that?
Well, what's the quality of the work too? I mean, that's a big difference.
And it's hard when we're
35,000, 9,000.
yeah.
So Weston, his name's Weston Paget with Mission MSP. And he said the reason why he doesn't charge as much is because he's seen churches and he's seen nonprofits just get raked over the coals by some of these larger IT companies that are just charging crazy amounts of money per year. So he set out with a goal to, lessen that burden on the nonprofits and government organizations that are working with less. So he's a really good guy.
And he's younger, so and he's an entrepreneur, and I think
Is he
just
local?
yeah.
Yes. Actually, they just moved from Greentown to Kokomo. They're over there off, what is that road right there? Market, across from the BMO. The BMO old branch right there.
Yeah. So we were looking at adding that in the budget as an expense. It's an expense it's like buying insurance. I don't want to have to pay you that much for insurance, but you gotta have it. But it's something like if I want to save, $7,500 between the general and poor relief, I could take $15,000 and say, well, we'll get by for another year. It's one of those things that it'd be nice to have. I think in this day and age, you're better off to have it than to not. But you think cat with 9 lives, and we've been lucky this far that nothing's happened, cybersecurity wise or IT problems. But there's just so much only that me and Anthony probably know the most in the office about the computer systems, and we don't have any background in IT or anything like that. So we're just triaging it off of Google, calling Mike when it's something serious, and then going from there.
But just because something hasn't happened, we have had multiple attempts of phishing and viruses and things like that get sent to our email, where this company monitors the emails for situations like that.
They also kind of test employees.
Yeah, they do. They
they'll
send out
them
tests, yeah.
phishing to see if they open it.
Because we get a lot of those already where it's like, Darla sends me, Drew needs your new routing number and account number for your bank direct deposit. I send it. And if you look at the email address, it doesn't say, it just had, we took all of we used to have everybody's pictures and their duties on the website. And we're probably that's probably what they use stuff like that to build. They can figure out Anthony's, the finance officer, and I'm the official over the office, and try to match that, well, let's get them to start thinking they're talking to each other. And I send them the account number for the township bank. And obviously I can find it, but there are people that are I'm not sure what this is. It's just one of those things that happens more often now than ever. And something that I've kind of always, when Frank was here, he was our old chief deputy. He was very techie, and he did all the computer backups and all that. And I was just go for it. And then he passed away in 2018. And I've always thought about getting an IT person, and Mike's been great. I just don't think he has the ability to give us the monitoring or the customer service that this group would do. And I don't know what the $30,000 one hack is. There's all kinds of, they'll put it all on a sheet, and I'm like, well, what does this mean? Why do we need all this? What do I need to be safe, and what's extra? And
yeah, that's why I was wondering 35,000.
yeah.
I get what you're saying.
But we do an annual in-house cybersecurity training just so you guys know that. So our employees are informed of the threats that can come through email, which is mainly where it's going to come from. Mike has set up our network to where it's really secure. But like Drew said, the monitoring and the constant upkeep is something that we probably need to address.
So will the state give a guideline once it kicks in, the mandatory?
You are actually at like every 2 or 3 years, you're supposed to have a cyber assessment. So where you're supposed to have an outside firm come in and run those cyber assessments, which is something that they also do in their contract, if we were to contract with them.
And they've kind of given a guideline, like we're supposed to have IN.gov emails by 2020, in like summer of 2026. Our email domain, they're trying to make it so it's more secure because you got all these different local governments with their own, centertownship1.com and there's centertownshipprobably.com, and they just want everybody to have the basic Andrew at 34 IN center.in.gov, and that's fine. It's just a process of getting our emails changed over. I get it if it makes it secure, not like somebody can make up an email address. We get the cybersecurity assessment thing. Makes us think, okay, would it be proactive just to go ahead and start getting a company that we work with that is doing certified IT work instead of just, Mike is more of a computer guy. Is it Horton's computer? Or it used to be Kling's. Kling's Computers downtown. He owned that business. So he obviously knows it, but like all the stuff that's going to get added onto it, I'm not sure like he wants to do that much work for it. So
I think also response time is critical, and Mission says that their average response time has been 4 to 6 minutes for somebody to get back to you in case you need them. With Mike, hopefully he's on vacation 1 week to the next. So
Yeah. One hit could ruin you.
yeah.
It's like say it's like an insurance policy. I think it'd be wise to have it sooner than later.
Yeah, and that's what I keep saying. I keep thinking, well, I've been lucky this far, and going today, and somebody said, "We got you. Give me $2 million." That's what they kind of did with the county. It just takes one person to get in your email system and just say, "I'll respond," or click this PDF that I don't know who it's from, and it's running.
Yeah, it's on.
So we have that in there. That's something new. Like Anthony said, I put in there 15. I think the first year he said there was a discount, so it was 9,000 for the first year of the service, and then like 12 after that year. I don't know if it's a year by year thing.
it's a 3-year contract.
3-year contract. Which I don't like contracts that extend outside of our terms, but I know sometimes there's no way to get around it. So that was the other one had something similar, and I was like, well, I'm not the person that signed this. How are you going to enforce it? Sure, you can take it to court. They'd make it all probably work in the vendor's favor.
In the small writing, it did say if you informed them 90 days prior, you could cancel that.
So for assistance, about the same amount. I mean, our assistance numbers haven't went down. It's not as high as it was as far as 2023, but I mean, just the past few months, our office has been overwhelmed with just the amount of casework that we've had to do. I think one day Connie said they've seen 31 clients in one day and trying to see them, and we're trying to do it as fast as we can within the guidelines and follow it. But the outside factors change a lot of things. When the utility rates go up, people they don't pay their bill, and then the weather changes. Because I think in July there was a couple days or maybe a week where it was above 100. Well, Duke don't usually turn you off if it's extreme. They're worried about somebody having heat stroke or something like that. But as soon as it cools down a little bit, they'll start coming out and shutting off your electric. As soon as they shut their electric off, that's the first place they go is here. And we were, intakes, and a lot of times they're new people. And I always ask them, like, are these people that have been coming in here for assistance, or are these like new, like why are we all of a sudden so busy? And they're like, well, people are new. So we've had that. Rental I don't think is going to go anywhere. Rent is sky high in Kokomo. There's lack of actually places to get affordable rent. So we used to always say, well, we could deny people based off of it's not the most economical way to alleviate a client. And we'd say, if you could find something cheaper, then maybe we could assist you. And now we're finding that what's cheaper? It's all about the same range of a one-bedroom apartment. It's roughly about $800 to $900. A two-bedroom apartment, if you needed it, probably $1,000 to $1,200, and it's like, that's a lot of money. You could tell them to go look somewhere else, but then there's nowhere else to go find shelter. So we've been kind of having this battle of like, what do we do? Of course, we make sure everybody signs up for public housing. That could change too. There's looks at that, and I was like, well, that'll be good for the federal government because they'll save a lot of money on public housing, but I guarantee I know where they're going to stop next. It's going to be the trustee or whoever's doing township assistance and say, I can't pay my rent. So we try to find ways to alleviate it. I mean, we get cyclical with it in the summer. It's busy. Kids are out of school. For some reason, the parents get out more to the trustee's office when the kids are out of school. When they go back to school, it's a little bit slower. It'll roll out a little bit through Christmas, and it'll pick back up in probably right around Christmas and then die back down. So we've kind of had around the same $400,000 to $500,000 and most of that is going to your rent and your utilities. Now we help with burials. They're not that expensive. We usually prefer to do cremations unless there's it's used to say religious obligation, but it's like, well, how can you legally tell somebody they have an objection to, maybe they're not religious, maybe there's just some objection. So we just left it where we prefer not to do direct burial. We'll do cremation. There's no service or anything. It's very basic. And we've never really went over the budget for that because of Frank. We actually he used to tell me we could only do cremations. And I was like, I don't know if that's legal because somebody has an objection to it and they can take a support over it. So he kind of curtailed some of those things back in the day. But we occasionally, a lot of them come straight from the corner. We get a corner's case where there's no next of kin, no relatives. They want somebody to bury him. It goes to the township. Fire, same contract. We carried that contract last year. It's supposed to carry us. I think we'd have to negotiate or revisit it. I think 30 days before the end of 2026. I think we did it for 2 years, so we didn't have to come back for it for every year. So for right now, it's 80,000.
That's gonna go to zero too.
We gotta fight. I mean, it will.
Yeah.
Somebody will pick up the tab somewhere else.
Yeah.
The park and rec, so mostly it's just the contracts. The biggest one of those contracts is Carver Center. And then we have all the youth organizations, the Kokomo Youth Baseball, POW, Kokomo Park Band, DYW, aka IBE, which are small, and then those are it. It's sit there at 90, but I already got it to a point, or 80, I'm sorry. I'm going to have it at 70. I'm going to take Carver Center's contract down to 40. They will get one of the highest ones, them and FSA, and they're both getting a reduction there. The care of the community service building, care of Summers Park, those things are pretty, for the utilities here. We are getting revenue on it, but it's not I don't think it's a huge money maker. I mean, we're trying to get some money for it, but not where it's going to pay for the building itself.
Have you had a lot of people?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Once we open it to the public and not say every weekend, but pretty frequently, we got some people here and luckily haven't had any problems with anything here so far. And that is really it for the Form 1. So that just gives the shot of how much. And I know, Linda, you said something about not having the total of the levy. Well, when we do the gateway, they always break it down by funds because they're trying to figure. Our fire fund runs off a fire levy and everything else runs off a civil levy. So what I don't like doing is messing with the levy too much. And our maximum levy for 2026 is $2,599,114 is our maximum levy. Go ahead and scrape $720,000 off that property tax caps. So we lose that off the top of the 2.5.
Say that again, how much off?
So let me pull up the exact
Say
amount.
those numbers again.
So our maximum levy for 2026, our civil maximum levy is $2,599,114. Give me just 1 second and I'll tell you the exact property tax caps because they always break them down on the DLGF by fund. Our fire maximum levy is 108,378.
It's just the maximum, that didn't include what he's getting ready to tell us next is the cap that would come off of that.
So it's $709,999 is the civil property tax cap.
Okay.
So they take that off that 2.5 million. I mean, and they've always existed. I mean, the people don't realize that even though we're levying 2.2 or 2.3 or 2.4, we're not going to get that much
Right,
money.
because they're gonna hit their caps.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with the property tax caps. It's supposed to, obviously, the bill that they put in for Senate Bill 1, it's going to change a lot of things. I think they're going to revisit it again next year to try to correct it. They keep saying they're going to get out of the property tax model for local government. For us, it's what we survive off of, adding our cash balances, but they want those too. So I'm not sure what options we really have left. Lit, we'll get lit. So we get about, this year is about $380,000 in lit money. It fluctuates per year. They usually give us a set certified lit rate for the incoming year. They haven't released it yet. So what we have in the Form 4B, so each of those just show let the DLGF know if our budget's fundable. If we have a negative at the bottom, they're not going to fund your budget. As long as you have cash balance, they're going to say, well, you can have your budget because they just want to certify it. So we'll get lit again for 2026. We'll get lit for 2027, and in 2028, we have to go to the county council and ask if we can now impose our new lit rate that would go on the income tax for everybody else. So the part that's tricky is trying to figure this out with the CIP and the roads fund and everything else, is how to, one, hold on to money. Anything in that budget, I hope, I want it to be pretty, there's some funds that are real close. General funds, usually pretty spot on. What we have in there is what it is. For relief, there's a little bit of wiggle room. Some years it's 400,000, some years it's 200,000, some years it's 666,000. And we had to do an additional appropriation that year. But, we try to make sure that we're not just, I seen how Gene did his budgets back in the day. They were very overstuffed and they were way bigger. And I was like, why do they have a $5 million budget and they didn't even spend $1.5 million? And that was just his approach to it. And he built that the way he wanted to. But I'm trying to find ways to reduce it. I don't want to grow things too high that we can't maintain either. So there's things on here like insurance costs. Insurance is very expensive.
Yeah.
County's insurance has not gotten cheaper, it's gotten more expensive.
Yeah,
So it may be something to consider down the road of the way we pay. We've always been 5% at best, or at worst, that we pay as the employees, the board pays 10%. Maybe if we look at a different model, will it save us hundreds of thousands of dollars? Probably not. Could it save us $20,000 to $25,000? Probably. Something me and Anthony talked about for a while is like, do we look at a different structure? It's gonna sting a little bit, to say, hey, you're gonna probably lose an extra $75 to $100 each paycheck, but it's still pretty cheap compared to other places that charge a lot more or make you pay as an employee or an individual a lot more than that. So, I mean, bigger budget, I'm willing to walk back. I wanted to set high, that way we could try to figure, because I didn't really know what to do about the CIP. I was looking at, could you use your budget as a buffer, or would the CIP be your buffer? And it's a combination of the both. When I totaled up what I've changed, it's at 2.9, the advertised one. Mine's at $2,696,700. That's me just kind of going through here and just writing notes like, can we go down a little bit? Can we change this a little bit and drop? And that's why I was looking at the community service contracts, like, okay, I put 265, but let me look at all these contract requests and see, okay, let's walk them back a little bit. And then when I have a conversation with them in October or November, when I say this is what it is for 2026, hey, it's not gonna get better from here. And just be prepared, because we're not your sole. And then I always say, hey, we're not your sole provider of funding. Like Linda said, you got to do fundraising, you got to do this, and you got to hit all the resources that are out there. And we're not your main source of funding. We'd love to be able to partner with you, because they do a lot. The ones that we have, I know they're doing good things for the community, but I can't financially bankroll all of them. So that's where I'm kind of at with it. The levy, we're under our working max levy, so it's at 2.5. I'm pretty sure with the advertised amount, it's around 2. What did you say it was earlier?
2.2.
No, that's after property tax. You added all the funds up. What's our before the tax cap credits?
Before
Our advertised amount is. They always put it in ways that it's not easy for you to understand, because you don't see on there that it's your civil levy. You just see total levy from the township is X amount of dollars.
yeah, but you got money coming in a lot of different ways.
We do.
Where's the 75,000 in here?
The one I was talking about in the beginning, it's in the community initiatives. I just changed the name on it because I didn't see the special program KPR. But that first,
They don't have that.
Huh?
They have this version here.
Where's the community initiative?
It's not on our
They
stuff,
don't see that. They
right?
see those.
That you wanted to.
oh, you got a different one. It's this 3A, this community initiatives and partnerships. I didn't know you guys had a different one. This must have been the one we were working on.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
Excel sheet.
rainy day, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, I didn't know. I was saying that earlier. Didn't realize I was talking about KRM and you took that out.
I'm like totally being sad,
Okay.
Yeah, I have it right here.
totally.
And that's what I told him. I said I would give him my suggestion on it.
Yeah,
But it's gonna ultimately be theirs.
yeah. I also, I'm in a bad mood, I guess. I also think that community service contracts ought to be halved of what you've got here. The park and rec contracts, I would have said 0, but I'm a little concerned about Carver. I don't know, how do you guys feel? What's your thoughts?
I can see some of them being halved.
What?
I can see some of them being halved.
Yeah. What about the park? I mean, I've had a problem with this for a long time, you know that. Outside of Carver. And I really, I don't want to say 0 to Carter. and I know they struggle.
So you want to take them down to 25,000 instead of,
Well, I wouldn't even have a problem with 30, but I'm saying 0 on all the others, in my mind. What do you guys think? I mean, I think it's about time we figure out the grading things over.
It's just,
we also do, like you said,
Baseball, all these athletic bridges, special Olympics, I mean, they have other ways that they can come up with the money. I just think there needs to be a understanding of what's coming. I don't know, that's just me.
when I view it, I'm standing on a railroad track. And we know what happens down here, it just keeps getting tighter and
Yeah.
narrower and narrower. You got needs, you got tax dollars, taxpayers. Everything's getting squeezed. If they've got other ways to accumulate funds and do fundraisers, and I'm all for it. I don't say cut them off completely like today, but I see the squeeze.
yeah,
And who knows where, I don't know what CIP will say about some of these. Are they necessary? They're, they may come out and say, well, this road over here is more necessary than.
and literal,
I can see the case for the gutters.
Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah. Things that,
You're protecting the investment.
And the parking lot, where you get that dip, should be.
and
I'm
that,
not into the dip, they can drive around it.
I am concerned about the sidewalk over there, the park. That is a liability. You've been by to see it.
Yeah.
It
You
slants.
mean
and it's-
over at Summers?
Yeah, over the park.
Have they given you any idea what kind of cost that would be?
The sidewalk
Yeah.
would probably be roughly 25,000.
What's the city's responsibility on that side?
0, just like as a homeowner, it's nothing out there, you have to fix it as a homeowner. They're treating us the same way as a property owner, we would have to be responsible for fixing it. They're giving us the benefit of residential where we can maybe get that 50/50 grant, but they don't have to technically extend that to us since we're not a residential property.
What are they telling you about gutters? Gutter repair?
That's just on us, that's for the sake
No,
of,
I know, but I mean, what?
I don't think there'd be
what's that gonna
anything.
Cost us?
we have to get quotes on that. So right now it's up and it's not raining, and it just, one day it dropped down and pulled down the side of the building with it.
Yeah.
We got it back up, so it's something that's gonna be addressed at some point.
Okay.
I would address it with Mr. Randy Brock.
Who's that?
Randy Brock Guttering.
Brock, I think they're the ones that have done it.
Yeah, in my opinion, Howard County, Brock Guttering needs guttering.
Mhm.
They've been in business for, oh my God,
Yeah.
I knew his dad.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I get what you're saying about protecting funds. But the money, I think we thought originally money was going to the state. It isn't. It's going to county, city, and local, to work on roads. Granted, it's draining us, but that's part of what they want to do. So personally, I don't like the idea of putting 300,000 in there on the idea that, well, we might do that in order to protect it. I would rather be totally upfront and say, we do have a gutter issue, we do have the sidewalks, and whatever you think, I mean, you probably know better what gutters cost. I'm thinking you could be looking at 25 to 50,000 on a project like that, I don't know. But I'm not thinking that we should put 300,000 in. Sincerely, we don't have that. I think we just need to let the chips fall where they may and have an honest budget. We've already got some extra money built into a lot of these things, that if you needed it, you could move it around. And you can always ask for an appropriation. But I think it is what it is. It's eventually going to be zero, and some of these people on the sheet need to understand that.
Yeah.
And the only way they're really going to understand it is to see a difference in what they're getting. And I know that sounds harsh, but I think the thing that was going on for the last 30 years was not correct. And we need to get closer to what the mission really is. And I think if we show that and we're doing that, it's going to be an easier transition at some point anyway. That's just me. I don't know how you two feel.
I mean, I gotta, I mean, it's not my place. I don't make the judgment on the amounts, but I think the mission of township government and the mission of Center Township have kind of merged to different things. In that while we excel at township government, we also excel at being great community members. And that I don't take these partnerships lightly, and that's why I've tried to be transparent with you guys, way different than my predecessors ever were about certain contracts.
Right.
I do think they need to be on the path of reduction. I would, by some of these do survive barely just with what they get. And it's not our job, no, by law, it's not our job. But, some of the ones down there are easy, like the DYW, I've looked at it for years. And like, are they getting a scholarship to Kokomo people, or is it going outside of our community? And they say it goes to Kokomo people. Okay. AKAs are doing a youth summit for kids in the African-American community to learn about technology and STEM in the summertime. That's hard, and I get it. It's not our duty to make sure that happens.
They're all good in what they're trying to do. I'm just saying, let's get closer to the mission of the statute.
Yeah, like I'm looking at Kokomo Park Band. Why did we give them 5,000?
Exactly. One time we gave 10,000 for trees for the park. So, I mean, we're not making any statement about how wonderful some of these groups are and what they're doing. I think.
But if the money's going to go to the roads, and it almost seems like you're okay with it going to the roads, why can't it go to these programs that enrich lives of the
No,
community?
I'm not saying I'm okay with it.
Oh, well, sorry. That's what I thought you were saying at first. Like, it just let it go to the roads. I was like, well, I don't know if that's the best use either.
I'm just saying, I want to be honest.
And I do too. And the 300,000 was, those projects I listed were projects that I think need to be addressed with I have a quote from what the walking path thing would be, $35,000. I have a quote from a basketball thing, which it's 65,000, but I don't have another standing quote for that to say, is that high or is that low? The guttering, it really could be a past job though, because it depends on what it's doing structurally. That would need to be addressed. I think, yes, I know they could drive around the parking lot, but I think at least filling it in and leveling it would do it. Would I say 300,000 would be not at all? Would I think putting something there and then bringing it to you guys with any proposal, that way we didn't have to have additional meetings, that would be ideal for us. I think those are things that we could accomplish on the CIP. Some of the things on the CIP are huge wish lists, not a possibility. But the things that the 300,000 was I wanted to start high and then see where we wanted to go for the year. I think addressing the basketball court, the sidewalk, and the accessibility of the park are necessary. I know we shouldn't have got it. Wasn't the person that made that decision.
It's ours.
It's ours. And I think that, the city, we have money designated to go to the roads fund. I think there's not enough things to make up. I'm not gonna say make up, but for us to be like, these are realistic expenses that we can have. That I think if there's an amount in there to do some capital projects, if it doesn't, then we have to rework and add it into the CIP, which we're just putting on the list of somewhere else to put it. That's where we on our side have to figure out what's the balance. Are we gonna just subject it all to 30% and just let it chunk away eventually? Or are we gonna put projects on there And I get it. I don't want it to be honest and just put a
Yeah.
number on there and not say it doesn't, but like, if I can give you a number of those projects, would that be more reasonable? If we could say, hey, for this, and that, between now and the adoption, because you need to know to make that decision, would that be okay?
The way I feel, I think, put 100,000 in there, not 300. Community service contracts, 130, not 265. Park and recreation, 30,000 Carver, period, on those 3 items. How do you, what you thinking?
So you're saying put 30,000 on
Give
Carver?
30 to Carver. I just can't, in good conscience, cut them off totally. But nobody else in there. 0 to
So you would
everyone
go
else.
from 70 to 30?
Yeah, and the 70 going to Carver. And then under community service contracts,
Oh, I get what you're saying, I'm sorry.
make it 130 and you can divide it up however you want amongst the ones that are in there.
Let me make sure I'm correct. You want to give Carver 70,000?
No,
No.
third.
Oh,
third
that's what I
shift.
thought, yeah.
30,
I misunderstood, yeah. I wrote
Yeah.
30.
so years ago, we used to go through these and decide each one. And then we,
God's made the decision not to,
Yes.
because I'll let you let them hear their spiel,
I know.
but you don't, they were doing it that one year that Rev came in, and I think you guys were like, no, and then you guys just let him say
and
this.
I
is what he's gonna do.
said, I'll trust you to make the decision on, who gets what. And I'm saying, some of these, if it were up to me, they'd get 0. But I'm not wanting to get into that.
Mhm.
What I'm wanting to do is limit the amount that's in there to 130. And then you can divide or eliminate as you see fit in that group.
So you want 30 down here and 100 up here, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying this top part that he had 265, I'm saying fund that at 130 and let him decide how he wants to divide it up among them. On the bottom part, I'm saying eliminate everybody except Carver and give them 30. And then on the capital improvement fund, instead of 300, I'm saying 100.
I don't think 100 would be enough.
We can always appropriate.
So if you look at the capital improvement plan, the things that are listed for 2026,
Yeah,
those are things that I think are needed. And one thing in there is new computers with Windows 11. The computers that we currently have, 12 of them, they run on Windows 10, and Windows has ended support for Windows 10 for security updates.
yeah, but what
That's-
you listed on capital improvements fund, the 300,000.
And I'm not saying it would be through 300.
And that's what we're saying, can we get you the
It's-
figure of exactly 26, because this is different from what I was doing in the budget. These were, when we were doing this, we hadn't finished this yet. So we were trying to figure out what years were these gonna master up as far as years. So this we worked on once we got information from the budget.
The 4 things you listed were Kokomo Rescue Mission, which I say.
That wasn't part of the capital improvement plan, that was
No,
just
that's a
to
community
continue their,
Oh,
yeah, that was to continue the
all right.
conversation.
Then I'm talking about the fund that were capital improvement fund.
Yeah.
It's 300. You got
Yeah,
300.
that one there was at
You want to
300.
make it 100 or
Yeah.
130?
100. That's a different one. That's the one where you said rescue fund, Summers Park, gutters and parking lot.
Mhm.
Well, this is-
But he
I
said,
mean, I get what you're doing, and if the other 2 wanna go along with the 300,000,
no, I don't want the 300,000. I wanted, can we give you if we got quotes and we have some from some of the projects to say, hey, this is what it'll cost for this, the walking path, to fix the basketball court, to do the gutters, to do the parking lot. And if you're okay with it, that's fine, but I would rather give you an exact amount than the 300, what I said was not all the way through a detailed expense for anything.
looking at the basketball on the sidewalk and the path, it's like 120,000, give or take, already.
Yeah,
And you should go down to check out the basketball goals. You could probably fit your entire foot into the cracks. And I don't think that Jansen's asphalt can do much more to that.
And to be honest, what I've heard, because we did some of our roads where I used to live, and it's not him, it's the quality of the material now is because it's expensive for them. So I'm not saying they're cutting corners, but if we're just patching instead of,
they all keep saying it needs to be busted up.
The
and that's
ground is
that's
eroded under it, and we've
Right.
got a serious dip and almost like a bulb where it floods. And so it just all cracks up and
right, and like you said, there could be a suit against township if something dastardly, terribly happened.
But on the capital improvement plan, like Drew said, a lot of these are, kind of wish list things, but there are a lot of things on here that are needed for infrastructure or safety or what have you. It's not like we just threw a bunch of things on there.
The budget is more of a blanket, but my thought was to walk it back, get it advertised, figure out exact amounts and what you guys were comfortable with doing. And then when we adopt, that way we have an exact figure. I didn't want a blanket 300 and let me go find new things to fix, but there are things on and we can just move on to the CIP anyways and come back to this kind of in conjunction. But we have on here extending the community service building. That is not something I'm trying to do. It's just something on there what could you do with the money to protect it? Well, I guess you could make this bigger and, we could put storage space in there. It's not ideal. It's not what we're planning on doing. But we've listed it on there to be something that can be expensed. The accessibility path is listed on there for the 2026 stuff, which they're kind of out in our year order, so it's confusing me because one jumps to 27.
Yeah.
So the accessibility path, the basketball court, the gutter repair, the computers, and then we start getting in a couple of years where we look at things like insulation. Our building is very
Drafty.
poorly made. That vaulted roof was probably not the best decision. We constantly have in the summertime where pipes are, hopefully it's not sewage, but it condensates through the pipes because it runs from that bathroom for the public to the back of the building and it drips through the drop ceiling. Luckily, we have a drop ceiling, so it lands on the tiles. But we've looked up there and they're like, well, it's your insulation. You probably need to put new insulation in. Can we get by for a couple of years and not doing that? Yes. But those are the kind of things we try to list. The garage door at the cemetery, does it need to get fixed today? No, but could we put it on this list? Yes, because it's something that legitimately needs probably to get addressed at some point. It's just not. So that's where we were trying to figure out, let's ignore the 300,000. Would you guys be okay with doing some capital projects if we get a set things that you find necessary? It has to be the mix of, you guys have to find it reasonable and okay with it, and then we move forward. And that's where I think Anthony was some of these things are more of a safety issue. Some of them are cosmetic. The gutters are cosmetic and it can cause damage to the rest of the building. So it's a mix of both. But I don't necessarily think that I have any intentions of building an extension here. That might be the only one that's kind of not probably going to happen, or we couldn't see it happening really at any time. Like the asphalt and ceiling repair, we need to get that's just something you have to do every so often at this office. The AC structure, the infrastructure for the AC, probably would need to do that. Probably not going to be doing that anytime soon because it's expensive. We're going to roll with what we can for while we can. But eventually, it goes all the way to 2034 because they made us put our fire money on there, and I'm not buying it. I'm not going to be here in 2034, most likely. Not buying a fire truck, but I listed it as that money's being saved for if we ever had to buy another fire apparatus, we would have funds to do it. The general and the rainy day are the only two funds that are really subject to that 30%. Your poor relief, Your park and recreation, cumulative funds, they're not subject to that 30% roads transfer. It's just the one where we had a lot of money in the general, or the rainy day fund and then the general fund. So my process in the levy is to put money more in poor relief and try to spend down some of that natural cash balance in our general fund. That way we're not obligating money here. If we don't obligate it in this blue section, then you have to have it, it's subject to, we have to transfer it over there. And then we start doing whether or not you guys want to approve certain road projects, which I think is a good thing. I mean, some of it can go there. I do think the city and county are taxing people for roads already. So I'm not really sure when this money starts coming off the tax rolls to the tax or to the roads fund, is that, to me, that's kind of like a double dip. You got taxed by the township, but they didn't tell you it was going towards the roads, and the city and the county have wheel taxes and gas taxes and everything else that go to it. So we're trying to put on here some things that are legit needs at some point. The 2026 things were things that we think that we can do now. And then from there year on, you would just reevaluate the plan and say, are these things necessary to be on your CIP? But this just gives you a buffer from the 30% transfer. This does not obligate you by budget or anything. It's kind of two separate things. We're just kind of timing it. It got put on our table during the budget season.
Well, roof's expensive. It's a good thing you got those on
When we got it on there, we don't know when that's going to be
I told Darla, I said, if you can find something in this building that I didn't put on this list, I'll be surprised.
Yeah.
I tried to come up with any kind of infrastructure or anything I could, kind of think about to get it down.
And then there's just things that are gonna pop. I mean, we have money for repair and maintenance, obviously. Like a lady just flushed a bag down the toilet the other day, and it's like, why did you do that? Didn't come in to see us, just came to the bathroom, flushed her bag down the thing, and it's like,
It's a cost problem.
thanks. Because now my toilet in the trustee's office, you can build a bathroom in it, and now it's not flushing all the way. And I'm like, this lady's thing like back all the way up to the back of the line, and it's not coming up. We don't have sewage coming up, but it's like, do I have to call a plumber out here and get them to look through these lines? Because who knows what was flushed down there that's making a block. So there's those things we're never going to predict. You don't think somebody's going to, adults are going to come in and flush bags down the toilet.
Somebody that's always rented.
Oh, yeah, they never paid for the sewer bill. They just.
We didn't even know who she was, so we didn't, like, if they're a client, we could be like, oh, we know who that is. Hey, caused some damage here, but this person walked in and walked out. So I would like to see it if, maybe not the 300 off the table, and I 100% agree with you, but if we can get you a figure and put it in there of detailed quotes from these places. We got half of them so far. The ones we don't have would be, and I'm sure Brock's Guttering will come out here as soon as we called him to give us a quote and an estimate at the minimum to say, hey, these things, and then the computers the problem is that's kind of part of your cybersecurity. Once they get off of certain windows, they don't do any updates on them. And we had this problem probably about 6 or 7 years ago when, unfortunately, Windows makes it that way. And you don't have a new computer, which I feel like is a benefit to the computer manufacturers, then they're going to be like, this product is no longer service. So that's something we knew we had to do. We try to kind of chunk them off so it's not all of our computers at once. So we have a few computers that are already updated. We just would have to go get a quote on the remaining computers.
Anything that's safety or security, very important. Like your gutter. Somebody might be walking in and now we got an ice storm, the gutter falls off, hits somebody in the head, and now you've got a big liability.
Yeah.
So that's gotta be fixed properly. Yeah, if you get those quotes and get this in line to where it's But I understand what have little in reserve.
Yeah. And the,
How is CIP gonna look at, how heavily are they gonna look at your reserve? I mean, as far as what you're laying out.
I think that what they're gonna make you do is just keep doing it every year, and then that, they're not gonna say, well, when they did it a couple years ago, we didn't have to do it, because our budget wasn't over 250% of our cash flow, vice versa, and it was done. This, I think they're gonna continue to make you do it. That's why I said there's really not a teeth to it, because if I put on here, I'm building a community service building extension, nobody has there's no liability of that, we don't do that. It's just stating that, okay, that's why we're saving some of this money. So I think it's just gonna be an unfortunate burden for, every year you have to go fill out your CIP. You think naturally, if you have one, you just kind of take the 2026 stuff that's off. Maybe you throw it at the end of 2034 or something else that you can think of buying, or, not buying, but projects that are going on. But I don't know, maybe they'll probably change the rules of it this legislative session. And then if you look at the individual funds, like there's this first page that looks like this would be the amount whenever the transfer occurs, would be that 73,000 would be going to the roads fund, which would just be a new fund we have on our register. So our public hearing for that will coincide with our adoption meeting. We have to have a public hearing, so if people want to ask about our CIP, we just let them come. It's just part of the requirement, but then after that, we can adopt it, and then just turn it into DLGF. They're just not really, if you don't do the CIP, then they can freeze your levy for the next year. So it's really better do it and try to do it the best you can. But there's some townships where they don't have any assets, any possession, they work out of their house. What do they put? I'm like, you have cemeteries, maybe you need to fix cemetery headstones, put a fence up, whatever it is. Like, I'm trying to correlate it to whatever they can have. I was like, you don't have a building, so I can't really say you need this, and that. You don't have a fire department, so I can't say go buy fire trucks or fire equipment. Maybe look at your cemeteries. And we didn't put really much anything on here about our cemeteries, but other than the building that's out there.
I did put ground penetrating radar.
I was gonna say.
Don't know where the bodies are actually buried.
Yeah, there's a lot
Shifted.
of, a lot of
Is there-
shifting ground.
It's not had anybody buried since the 60s. I don't know when the township came in possession. My thought is that the church across the street probably owned it at one point, but we do get people asking, like, somebody called from
I had a call a couple weeks
one of
ago.
the mortuaries called and asked if somebody was buried out there, and we're like, gravestone might be in the ground by now. There's some of them in good shape, there's some of them that they're going in. So there are solutions you can pay, and they're hefty. I'm not saying I want to go pay for ground penetrating radar, but they would tell you, I don't know, they tell you, other than there's a body here, and a body here, and a body here, they can't identify anybody. So it's, I mean, if that's all we had, then I'd be like, yeah, maybe we need to refurbish gravestones and stuff like that, but I don't even know about any of that right now, so. That's really the CIP, is trying to find those projects and trying to list them out. The 2026 stuff doesn't come off of the total, so they think those are factored in your budget. That's why I had that high number there, because I didn't know what. At first, I thought if you had it on 2026 CIP, it wasn't going to be subject. And then when we were playing with the sheet, it didn't come off. We're like, oh, because I think you've already budgeted that for your 2026, even though you're listing it here. Like, all the items that are listed aren't coming off of that total. So that's where I was like, can we do some projects this year? Ones that need to be done. Some that probably need to be done more than a lot of things on the end of this list. And then that's where I want us to get you guys the quotes that we have and say, hey, can we do these things this year? And you don't have to accept all of them. You can say, hey, this one's okay, that one's not okay. But I think there's some things that we do need the computers obviously, and some of the safety issues that we have to address. What else is in the packet?
Form 17.
Oh, yeah, Form 17. That's the salary set for the year. It includes a 1.5% raise, which equates to about $600 for most of our employees. This is usually our more of our discussion is usually about the wages. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts. We just put 1.5%. We didn't think we were going to get anything, but we tried with 1.5% for the employees.
I couldn't find it. Says 1.5.
The raise for the board of the trustee.
You say the average was $600?
Yeah, there's some that are going to be a little bit more. Darla's is going to be a little bit more, but we have an issue with where employees are classified, and a bump of a couple more dollars means she can work at limited hours for the township without any overtime opportunities. Everybody else, they bump the threshold of the minimum salary you have to not qualify for overtime. And we were always under the assumption that we all met that. And then I started looking at the sheets and I said, you're in overtime, and technically you can get overtime because you're not, we always thought, Gene always said, you're not exempt. Well, it used to be like $40,000, what you did, and some other things. Now it's the same thing, but the salary, they increased it to like $58,850. And if you don't have all three of those check marks, then that employee is entitled to overtime.
How much overtime did you experience?
July was worse. When you leave at 4:15 and people are staying until 5 o'clock, and I had to get back on the horn and tell them to start leaving. It's usually our supervisors that are here. Connie's a caseworker supervisor. She's got to review cases as people leave. Darla usually assists with her. They stay here. I seen their timesheet, and I said, we got to make sure you guys don't get overtime. Now it's split up. We work 36 hours, which should be hard because we're not open on afternoons on Fridays. But if you're here, an hour and a half after each work, which is fine. I want you to get the job done, but we also have to be careful that you do qualify for overtime, that we're not. Because I don't want the township to get in trouble, because you could come back and say they didn't pay me my overtime for X amount of years, and now we're paying a lump sum to them because we failed to acknowledge it. So I've made a point to all people that, hey, you need to leave. I can understand getting the job done. I don't want you to drop what you're doing at 4 o'clock, but you need to take that 15 minutes and try to get out of here at a reasonable time. That way we can circumvent any overtime issues. Darla, if we can move it, she has to come in here a lot on the weekends to help with the building. That I don't want somebody to work here off the clock either. That's what I told him. I said, I don't want you to be here, clock out, but still work, because that's not right either. I said, but you got to be cognizant that there's a time you got to go home and not start again tomorrow. So hers was the only person that was close enough. She was like shy by about $100 or $200 of being over that non-exempt status. That I was like, if we could just push her, but everybody else, pretty sure Anthony just did 0.1, is it 1.5%?
Across the board.
I didn't think we were gonna get any, but I figured I'd put it in the budget, let you guys let me know what you want to do.
You said that.
Yeah, county's not doing anything.
That's not really-
What I was told today.
What about a, raised about 500